bank checkbooks usable from April 1st, says Central Bank of Nigeria. Global investment down by 42% in 2020, while corporate deals soar as Nigeria records $4.3 billion in 2020. Plus, rising prices of agricultural commodities is the focus of our discussion on the program today. This is Business Express on the network service of the NTA, and we are reaching you from Abuja, Nigeria's capital. I am Musa Abubakar. The Central Bank of Nigeria, CBN, says revised checkbooks of all deposit money banks will become operational from April 1st, 2021. CBN directed all banks, accredited check printers, personalizers, and the Nigeria Interbank Settlement System to enlighten their customers. Director Banking Services Department Sam Okojiri gave the advice in a circular on Friday. He said based on a CBN memo dated December 9, 2020, old and new checks allowed to coexist will end on March 31st, 2021. Full enforcement of the second edition of the Nigeria Check Standard and Nigeria Check Printers Accreditation Scheme version 2.0 will commence April 1st, 2021, and the sanction grid will be fully operational on April 1st, 2021. Global foreign direct investment collapsed in 2020, falling by 42% to an estimated $859 billion from $1.5 trillion in 2019. A report by the United Nations Conference on Trade and Development shows foreign direct investment finished 2020 more than 30% below the trough after the global financial crisis in 2009 and back at a level last seen in the 1990s. The decline in developing economies was relatively measured at -1.2% to an estimated $616 billion. The share of developing economies in global FDI reached 72%, the highest share on record. China topped the ranking of the largest FDI recipients. The decline was concentrated in developed countries where FDI flows fell by 69% to an estimated $229 billion. Flows to Europe dried up completely to -4 billion, including large negative flows in several countries. A sharp decrease was also recorded in the United States to $134 billion. The report also showed that FDI trend is expected to remain weak in 2021. The federal government has been advised to explore data and intelligence in order to ease tax collection and improve its revenue base. Panelists at the recent Federal Inland Revenue Service first annual National Tax Dialogue in Abuja have added their voices to ongoing reforms at the FIRS. President of the African Development Bank, Akiwumi Adesina, in his contribution submits that debt service payments poses great risk to Nigeria, adding that steps must be taken to mitigate such. He is also of the view that to get the best from taxation, automation of the system and widening of the tax base is the way to go. Ekiti State Governor Kayode Fayemi called for the interrogation of how Nigeria can further deepen the use of technology to improve tax compliance at home and across subnationals, while the Executive Secretary, African Tax Administration Forum, Logan Ward, who joined the dialogue virtually from South Africa, stated that domestic resource mobilization is expected to contribute at least 75% to 90% on average per country in the post-COVID era, adding that Nigeria and other African countries should note that improved tax revenue will have to take prime position in the scheme of things. Now, gold prices gained on Monday as the dollar eased in hopes that a massive economic stimulus in the world's largest economy will be passed. Oil prices slipped for a second straight session on Monday as renewed COVID-19 lockdowns raised fresh concerns about global fuel demand. Brent crude futures fell 15 cents to $55.26 a barrel, while U.S. West Texas Intermediate crude was at $52.19 a barrel, down 8 cents. Recent data released by the National Bureau of Statistics, NBS, show that food inflation has been in double digits in the last 3 years as Nigeria's Consumer Price Index, which measures inflation, increased by 15.75% in December 2020, a rate higher than November 2020. The report showed that the Composite Food Index, which accounts for more than half of the country's inflation basket, had risen sharply and is attributed to increases in prices of breads and cereals, potatoes, yam and other tubers, meat, fish, fruits and vegetables, as well as oils and fats. To understand the reason behind the persistent rise in prices of agri-commodities, I have with me Isaac Sunday Ojo Nugwa. He is the Director, Crops Development and Value Addition and Contract Farming, Federation of Agricultural Commodity Association of Nigeria. You're welcome to the program.
Thank you.
Okay. The NBS figures show inflation figures have been rising steadily in the past 18 months, and in the past few months, the highest increases in food items. So, what exactly is happening to food prices?
Food prices are rising because of one reason that has not happened in Nigeria before. Insecurity is a bane, is the issue. Most of our farmers cannot farm as usual. And because of this, the law of demand and supply come into play. That few supply and high demand, because everybody needs food. And for this to be able to...
Oh, you say few supply and high demand. Are we not producing?
People are not producing enough.
Okay.
And even if they are producing enough, insecurity is the major reason why people are not going to farm as usual.
Okay. So, what do we do?
So, security has to be built up in such a way that farmers, smallholder farmers especially, will be able to go into the field and cultivate, because 70% of the people producing food in Nigeria are smallholder farmers.
Okay. So, what measures can farmers and government take to slow down the rise in prices?
The rising prices can only be slowed down with the opening of our borders so I can supplement whatever we are producing in the country.
Okay, our borders are open.
They are open.
Yeah.
And I'm sure it's not fully open. Some other parts are not open. And if you can get food from outside to supplement what we are producing locally immediately, it will go a long way.
Okay, selected food prices watch data for December 20 released by Bureau of Statistics show that prices of eggs and other food essentials increase in December. Is it related to the scarcity of maize feeds for poultry farms?
Yes, maize is scarce. And 60 to 70% of the food being consumed by the poultry is from maize. And because of this, you cannot get enough of eggs and poultry products because of scarcity of the food that they are consuming.
Okay, but there's this effort by the federal government, which they are planning to release like 300,000 metric tons of maize by February. How do you think will impact on the
Well, if that
prices
is
of-
if that is done, it will go a long way to solve the problem.
But on your part, what are you guys doing to see that this problem doesn't prolong?
What we are doing is to encourage government to release whatever is in the warehouse so that poultry farmers can be able to have access to it and increase production.
Okay. Is it only poultry farmers?
Not only poultry farmers, even flour mills, people producing semovita, semolinas, they need that, need maize.
Okay.
And if we can add value to whatever we are producing, if we can add value by way of processing our maize into flours, we will use them for rainy days like we're having now.
Okay. Well, onions is another commodity actually. We've seen in October and November 2020 there has been this serious increase in the price of onions. What's the situation now?
The situation is still the same, but like I told you, insecurity is a major reason why farmers could not plant onions. They could not do much on their farms. I covered what they are harvesting is not even mature before they harvest, those ones that are even harvesting. Because of the rise in price, they are harvesting immature onions to sell. And this has never happened in the history of Nigeria before. But insecurity is a major reason.
In places like the northwest, like Sokoto, for instance, the floods, the last season flood affected actually onions.
Flood is part of it.
But now it's the dry season.
Yeah.
Don't you think it will help?
Yeah, it will help, but like I will say, I will blame it on insecurity because that place that you are mentioning, people are afraid of going to farm.
Okay. So President Muhammadu Buhari at a virtual meeting of the Presidential Economic Advisory Council assured the council of his administration commitment to make sure that prices are kept down. How do you see that playing out?
Well, that is playing out in the sense that what is in the strategic grain reserve are going to be released. Okay. And if that is done, a lot of people will smile.
Okay. Now, what about the place of middlemen now? Because a lot of things have been said about the middlemen. At times you see particular products is being hoarded by middlemen.
That was why we in Federation of Agricultural Commodity Association of Nigeria decided to put in place what we call contract farming business model, okay, in which a smallholder farmer is producing to specific target markets that are structured in such a way that they know their off-takers, they know the quantity they are taking, they know the quality they are taking. In that case, The smallholder farmers are encouraged to produce more, while the off-taker knows exactly what he's taking. He's assured of his raw material. In that case, middlemen will be completely eliminated. What plays out is that commodity associations like Maize Association of Nigeria, all of them will be in place to make sure that they create a synergy between the off-takers and the producers.
Okay, they are going to play the role of like commodity boards or what?
It's not commodity boards.
Okay.
What they are doing is a processor, who is the off-taker, knows exactly what quantity of commodity he wants. And they know the smallholder farmers that are producing for them. In that case, commodity associations will be the one to mediate, to know, point out the genuine farmers that are there. Okay. If the genuine farmers are identified by commodity associations, you discover that the farmers will produce and they'll have market, while the off-taker know exactly what is taken from the market at each point in time. He will run the factory, he will run his processing mills efficiently, while the banks are there to leverage on these associations and know the farmer that they will give facilities to. Okay. Insurance companies will come in when there's flood. But in our own climes, you discover that farmers are at the mercy of their buyers. And sometimes they are discouraged from producing enough because they don't know whom their buyers are. Because of this, you discover that, like what is happening in cassava right away, you discover that in some parts of the country, cassava is so scarce now because they have been discouraged from producing last year. And this year they are not producing enough. A small basin of cassava now, cassava flour now, is going for as much as 10,000 naira, which has never happened in the history of Nigeria.
Now, our position is the Nigerian commodities market is for the African Continental Free Trade Agreement as it takes off.
Yeah, it's supposed to have taken off, but Nigeria is lagging behind. We are not moving enough because we are not producing enough of those staple crops that we are consuming, talk less of exporting them to other African countries. So there must be a deliberate policy in place that we have to, make conscious effort in production so that we can be able to meet up.
Okay. We hear a license of like a network of like 20 licensed warehouses across major production areas in the 6 geopolitical zones exist. How will this help in storage and onward exchange in the market?
In those that have been licensed should be able to target people that are producing for them, so that there will be sustainability.
Okay.
So that there will be a steady market for the people producing. There must be an deliberate encouragement for them to produce. Okay. If not, at the end of the day, whether you have license or you don't have license, you are back to square one.
Okay, thank you very much, Music Sunday. Thank you for your contribution.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
The market review for 22nd January saw the NSE All-Share Index and market capitalization depreciated by 0.42% and 0.38% to close the week at 41,000.99 and 21.4 trillion naira. All other indices finished lower with the exception of NSE Merry Growth, which appreciated, while the NSE ASEM and NSE Growth indices closed flat. At a turnover of 4.2 billion shares worth 25.9 billion naira in 32,849 deals were traded by investors on the floor of the exchange. The financial services industry led the activity chart with 2.6 billion shares valued at 12.4 billion naira traded in 15,128 deals. It was followed by the conglomerate industry with 813.8 million shares worth 1.5 billion naira in 2,417 deals. oil and gas industry took the third place with a turnover of 212.1 million shares worth 821.9 million naira in 2,726 deals. The top three equities were Transnational Corporation of Nigeria, Living Trust Mortgage Bank, and Japol Gold and Ventures. They mutually accounted for 1.5 billion shares worth 1.5 billion naira in 2,726 deals. A total of 778,755 units of exchange-traded product (TTPs) valued at 4.5 billion naira were traded in 46 deals, as well as a total of 2,515 units of federal government bonds valued at 2.6 million naira were traded in 16 deals. For summary of price changes, 53 equities appreciated in price during the week, 29 equities depreciated in price, while 79 equities remained unchanged. Boss Day Able, Business Express.
Double dominated at the end of trade on Monday as the NSE All Share Index appreciated by 0.21% to close 41,088.96 basis points, with market capitalization at 21.4 trillion naira. Well, let's look at how the market fared. As you can see, the All Share Index closed today's trading at 41,088.96, about 333 million shares exchanged hands, and is valued at 2.6 billion naira. And the deals is 5,640. Market capitalization stands at 21.4 trillion naira. The dollar held ground against riskier currencies on Monday as weak economic data from Europe and fresh worries about the coronavirus supported investor demand for safe havens. Stocks in Asia Pacific were mixed on Monday trade as investors continue to monitor the situation surrounding the coronavirus pandemic. Bossede Abel reports.
President Joe Biden's attempt to push through a $1.9 trillion stimulus program that many congressional Republicans oppose is in focus for investors. In the United States, stocks finished mixed last Friday as the S&P 500 and Dow Jones finished in the red, while the Nasdaq Composite closed at a record high, although all three posted a gain for the week. However, stock index futures rose in early trading on Monday as Wall Street prepares for the busiest week for earnings. Stocks in major Asian markets were higher on Monday as investors continued to monitor the situation surrounding the coronavirus pandemic. Hang Seng Index led gains 2.14% higher to close at 30,159.01. Shanghai Composite was 0.48% higher at 3,624.24, and the Nikkei pushed 0.67% higher to close at 28,822.29. Investors also awaited Chinese President Xi Jinping's keynote address at the Davos Agenda 2021 on Monday night, Asia time, while stocks in Africa opened early trading mixed, with South Africa's JSE Africa Top 40 and Ghana's GSE Composites Index posting gains. Boss Day Able, Business Express.
This is where we end this episode of the program. Don't forget you can access this and all previous episodes on YouTube, and you can also communicate with us on Twitter, and the handle is NTA News Now. The hashtag is BizX. We value your feedback. Do join us again on Tuesday at 9:30 a.m. for another package. I am Musa Abubakar saying stay safe.